And we definitely need to shout out America today. I mean, 2 Americans in the breakaway of 6 guys, the hardest breakaway thus far in the Tour de France. And then Matteo Jorgensen at the end, leading it out for Jonas. I mean, 3 out of the 5 Americans today played a significant role in the race result, and I just love seeing that.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast. Talking about stage 6, Ben Healy show, ladies and gentlemen. I love this kid, but before we get into it, Alain, where do we start and finish?
Stage 6, from Bayeux to Vire Normandie. From Bayeux to Vire Normandie.
Merci mille fois. Merci mille fois. As is the case each and every day, Ketone IQ is our presenting sponsor. Look, I feel like I've been on the record with this Ben Healy kid. He's up there. Seemingly, he's any race he starts, he's in the race, and he just tries and tries and tries. And he put on a demonstration today that I think it's been a minute since we saw something like that. Sir Bradley,
Ben, he's renowned for these long attacks.
That's right.
He's when he wins big. He's a gutsy rider, but today was impressive considering how fast the first 2 hours were today.
That's right.
It was on today.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that.
That group of leaders, there was some hitters in there.
That's right, and that's what George talked about yesterday, those stages that whereas as either one of the favorites teams or a team in the jersey, these are the days where you're just like, oh, no, not one of these. Impossible to control early on, having to monitor everything, make sure somebody important doesn't sneak into that breakaway. Fun fact here on Ben Healy. He's got 3 World Tour wins, 1 on the Tour of Basque Country, 1 on the Giro, 1 on the Tour de France, which we saw today. All 3 of those have come from solo breakaways of 42.5 kilometers or more.
I would say arguably today, though, was the strongest breakaway he's ever been.
No, unbelievable.
And rode away from all of them.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Today's show brought to you by Huckberry. Huckberry is building the future of retail for active, adventurous guys. Where style and adventure converge, millions trust them as their one-stop men's shop for discovering and shopping well-crafted products. We alluded to this the other day. You can't see it sitting right here, and if you're listening at home, you certainly can't see it. But due to the fact that this show is now live with our friends over at Peacock, we actually set up just across from where we're sitting, a little zone. Huckberry sent us some incredible furniture. We've dubbed it the Huckberry Chill Chamber, which I think is pretty sick. So we all just sit there every morning. We don't have to walk far, guaranteed to get Sir Bradley here on time, which is very important.
I was the first one here today.
Yeah, he was. And not only that, he was texting me stuff at like 5:30 in the morning.
Okay, and let's be on the record here. Sir Bradley was the first one in the Huckberry Chill Chamber.
Yeah.
Some of the things, I've just been a lifetime shopper for at least a lifetime of knowing about this brand for a long time. As soon as I came across it, was incredible. Their daily newsletter, I think, is one of my favorites. Obviously, a lot of cool goods on there, but tons of great content, tons of great features, short films. Check out I bought this bad boy on Huckberry. I think every dude needs a tote.
That is so chic.
And I get a lot of comments about this Carhartt tote. I do. Anyways, visit huckberry.com/themove, huckberry.com/themove. Get yourself a tote. Also today brought to you by Bubs Naturals. Bubs Naturals is a tribute to former Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty, a national hero who laid down his life saving Americans in Benghazi, Libya. Glenn was a friend to so many, including Bub's founder, Sean Lake. Glenn's call sign in the Navy was Bub. Now let's talk about collagen for a second. Collagen peptides and what they can do for you. Collagen is the most important protein in the human body. It is the glue holding our bodies together. Naturally, with our age, our collagen levels decline. Bubs offers the highest quality collagen to combat the effects of life's wears and tears. Check out the entire Bubs collection and Collagen Club Welcome Kit with over $100 of free perks when you sign up for a subscription. This includes a 90-day supply of vitamin C, a coffee mug, mixed wand, and more. Use the code THEMOVE at bubsnaturals.com/discount/themove, bubsnaturals.com/discount/themove. Die young as late as possible. Last one here for a sec. Today's show brought to you by Roka, who have completely reinvented eyewear. These are glasses optimized for performance. They're prescription glasses, which we're all wearing up here. But, yeah. By the way, Sir Bradley finally put on a pair of readers today.
I did. Try George's.
And I noticed, and I said, whoa.
Yeah.
And he remarks to me, he's like, wow, these really work.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that means you need them.
My eyes are going. They have been for some time.
I've been wondering why George and I
But I don't know what
can't do anything without them.
I don't know what strength they are. I am 45 now. It kind of happens when you get
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. As is the case with the prescription glasses and the performance glasses, they're unbelievably lightweight. They do have the best optics on the market, and they never slip, no matter how bad you're sweating. And a lot of times George does sweat on the set. He complains every day that it's hot in here.
It's very hot. I think every day it's getting a little bit hotter.
You know what? And all the ladies who watch the show, they have been really requesting your new cowboy hat. Speaking of hot,
I'll have to bust it out today.
they want the George Baldoni Hincapie cowboy hat.
Well, since I barely got a ride to the studio today because you pretty much kicked me out of your car, said you had things to do after the show, I had to ride. Well, I was going to have to ride my bike here, so it wasn't ideal to ride my bike on a cowboy hat.
All right, ladies are going to have to wait. They are hand built in our hometown of Austin, Texas. And for once, you don't have to compromise on performance or style. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roka. That's ROKA, Roka.com. Enter the code THEMOVE at checkout. Let's keep talking about Ben Healy. I think the thing that stands out for me is not only the fact that he seems to always want to be a factor in these races, but the people that he had behind him: Quinn Simmons, Matthew Van Der Poel. Also worth noting, 2 Americans and 2 Irish riders in the breakaway. We love seeing that. And when Quinn Simmons finally, or when he decided to go away from the group to try to bridge across, Ben Healy had 45 seconds. Are you thinking? I mean, he went with another rider. I was sort of thinking, well, I think they can get across. They did nothing but lose time. That just shows you how dominant Ben Healy was and motivated.
Not only that, but I think it shows you how damn hard it was to make that breakaway.
Yeah.
I mean, you had
you
had a point sprint within the first 20K where Milan got third in. And then you have these guys. These guys are the best of the best breakaway specialists or World Cup winners in their own right. So to see a breakaway like that, the first thing I said to you this morning, these guys are hauling ass. They were only between 20 and 30 seconds for a long time, what seemed like forever. And at some point, somebody's going to give up. UAE was trying to keep them close. There were guys, I'm sure, getting yelled at by their team directors that didn't make that breakaway. But look at the guys that were in there. I mean, these guys, it's not like, oh, we let them go, we messed up. No, these guys rolled off, and that was a selective breakaway. And that's about as hard as it gets. Those starts of the Tour de France, I still have PTSD about those starts, being in the yellow jersey, or on the other side, trying to make that breakaway, which I did many times. It doesn't get harder than that, and that's really hard to describe that to the viewers who would never race the Tour de France, how difficult that really is.
Not only that, Ben Healy attacked at the place you least expect him to attack from that breakaway.
Yep.
Which was quite something to see. But that was a tough day. Tough stage. And you could see it in the riders' faces.
And you could see it on their shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, we all remarked.
Yeah.
We've talked quite a bit this first week about the heat leading up to the Tour, then unexpectedly cool temperatures. Today really wasn't that hot. As I checked the weather real time, it was in the low 80s Fahrenheit, but you saw the majority of the riders showing just are presenting with a lot of salt. That's always a telltale sign that hydration or dehydration has become an issue and that it's hot.
Well, the first couple of days were not hot, and then you had the time trial yesterday where a lot of guys probably didn't go hard at all. And then you have a relatively hot stage and hard from the gun. And we definitely need to shout out America today. I mean, 2 Americans in the breakaway of 6 guys, the hardest breakaway thus far in the Tour de France. And then Matteo Jorgensen at the end, leading it out for Jonas. I mean, 3 out of the 5 Americans today played a significant role in the race result, and I just love seeing that.
Worth noting, when ASO sends out the race book with the itinerary, they really give you 3 brackets for average time for the stage, and that sort of leads to a projected finish time. Today's stage finished minutes ahead of the fastest projected finish time. So to your point earlier, George, I mean, this thing was just firing from kilometer zero. I just have a question about that PTSD of yours, though.
Yep, shoot it.
What was it more from the effort that it took to try to control the peloton, or from Johan screaming in your ear?
Both.
Okay.
Because the times that Johan would come on the radio and screaming at you, that means you're already, like, for instance, 30 seconds behind Vinokurov or somebody we did not want to let go. And somehow it was so hard that he actually got up the road. And then, the next 30 to 60 minutes of your life are going to be some of the worst pain you've ever felt, because you can't let a guy like that go. So, and then the same thing in the breakaways. When I had some freedom to get in the breakaways, it's very, very stressful, very difficult, but it's also very calculative. I mean, you got to go when it's the rope has strung out as much as possible, and you think that you can't go any harder. That's when the breakaway goes, and that's when guys like the 6 that went away today, that's the only time they can go.
Yeah, the record will show the average speed was 45.7 kilometers an hour. So for you folks that are sitting at home thinking about going out on a 125 mile group ride, and if you think in miles an hour, that's about 28 miles an hour.
With all that climbing.
With 11,000 feet of vert.
Yeah.
Awful. We've had a lot of, and this just came in this morning just because we haven't done it and pulled it out this year, but today's a perfect day to do it. We had a lot of listeners asking us about where is the boomstick, and encouraging us today that if we find it, that Ben Healy deserves the boomstick. So the boomstick comes back out, right? So it's Ben Boomstick Healy. I think this is well-deserved today.
I agree.
This kid hustles.
Yeah. And I love seeing Quinn Simmons there being aggressive at the end, not being scared of anybody in that breakaway.
Quinn Simmons isn't afraid of anything.
When on the climb, where arguably, like Bradley mentioned, Ben Healy went where nobody expected it on a sort of downhill flattest section. Yeah, everybody's going to expect somebody to go on a climb nearing the finish line. But what Ben Healy did, he just kind of was just trying to get the advantage without them expecting it. I think they expected when Simmons went, but they couldn't react. So he obviously has a lot of really strong legs left in the race, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes away with the stage win in this Tour de France.
Yeah, I'm going with that. By the way, you don't rock up to the start line with that look, like the hair, the facial stuff. That just, you just don't care about anything.
No,
you're not afraid of anything.
And he said in his interview that he wanted to represent America in that jersey, and he's looking good so far. I mean, second place today on probably the hardest stage of the Tour de France, the hardest breakaway to make, so very cool to see.
We have a cool clip of Ben Healy at the finish. This was his official post-race interview. Talks about a couple of things, talking about the break form and him going away, and then what it means to win a stage in the Tour, and more importantly, to actually ride the Tour. Let's run that.
Maybe I spent a bit too much trying to get into the break, but I think that's just the way I do it. And once we was in there, we really had to work for that gap, and it was just on the pedals all day. And I knew I needed to get away from the group and pick my moment. And I think I timed it well, and hopefully caught them by surprise a little bit. And then I knew what I had to do: just head down and do my best ride to the finish.
It was a perfect kind of profile. It was Yesh best on Yesh today. Yeah,
exactly. And it suited me directly down to the ground. So, I mean, this was a stage I circled in the book from the start, and to do it on the first one is really, really amazing.
This is what you've always been dreaming of, to win a stage on the Tour de France. This is what you were thinking about when you were a kid with your dad, and you started riding on a velodrome.
Yeah, 100%. Just grew up watching a Tour, and one day wishing that I could maybe even be there. So to even be here is an achievement, and now to win a stage is just
Big deal.
Yeah, amazing. A lot of people don't realize what goes on in a rider's head. There's a lot of doubt, a lot of questioning who else is in a breakaway, especially today's breakaway. But for him to say, just kind of try to take him by surprise. And not only that, but like he mentioned how hard it was to get in the breakaway. We keep talking about that, but you saw how hard it was because nobody reacted. And he just kept putting time on them. So he just had an incredible day.
When they tried to, Yates chased for a little bit. And it's just one of these things where he took advantage of it and got. I mean, clearly he was feeling good. Yep. I mean, there was a moment, and as we were watching the Peacock coverage, I couldn't help but have a small chuckle. Christian Vandevelde, who's on the Peacock motorcycle, went up to the director of Education First, and I quote: Christian says the director said, "We'll see you in the showers." Not. I think I know what that means. I think it is seeing the douches. Of course it is. But nonetheless, they were that confident. Like when he went, it just. I mean, I had this moment in 1995, the same year that Fabio Casartelli died. When I got away, it was even on a small, slight downhill, and our director at the time. In the team car was Henny Kuiper, and he kept coming up. And this is now we're 30 years ago, right? So not near as much information, not near as much data. And Henny kept coming up and giving me the time checks. And I finally said to him, I said, Henny, you don't need to come up here anymore. I'm not getting caught. It's the same thing. Like he clearly felt that good, relayed that to the team car, and the director said, he's gone.
Yeah, and there was still a lot of sort of tactical stuff going on behind, even though they were 5-6 minutes behind. You saw Visma putting a hard effort in there at the end, and there's speculation that they were doing that to keep Pogačar in the jersey. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Pog's interview at the end was quite telling. He said, Visma were clearly trying to try something. I'm not too sure what they were trying to try, but it does look like potentially. I mean, we wondered what they were doing, but it makes sense now. They must have known the gap was very tight with Van der Poel as to whether yellow would fall off of Pog's shoulders today. And were they pushing on at the finish to keep Pog in yellow, which would give them, make them have to take up the work again tomorrow on another tough day?
Well, so if they're doing that and Pog didn't want to be yellow, why is Poggy sprinting for the finish there? Is that like an ego?
It could be ego. Yeah,
he said that in the interview that they were trying to accelerate or make the race hard for him or for his team. But this was all developing in real time, right? Yeah. If you just reverse the tape to 10 kilometers before the finish, I mean, Van der Poel was minutes into yellow. This was not nobody would have even thought about this. Initially, we thought, well, he's so confident that at least he'll ride into yellow, try to win on Mur de Bretagne tomorrow in yellow, that he set up. I think if you saw him at the finish line, laying on the ground, dousing himself in water, he too was caked in salt. I don't think he sat up. I think he hit the wall. And as the information was getting back to the main group, then Visma realizes, we might have a play here. This all feeds into this idea that Tadej Pogačar does not want to go to the podium. Yeah. Right. And by the way, that's not a criticism. I support that. Going to the podium at this point in the race, especially for something that is not the yellow jersey, who cares? You don't want to go for a polka dot jersey or a green jersey.
There is ego on both sides there as well, because you're playing with such small margins. And I think Visma, part of them was being on the offensive before, because we can question with Tadej was going to light it up on that last climb. Right. And the last thing they want to do after the disappointment of the time trial yesterday is lose another couple of seconds on that running to Tadej and give him that kind of extra motivation.
Yep. And let's not forget, watching Van der Poel come in like the way he did today also indicates how hard it was to make that breakaway. It was essentially a team time trial for Van der Poel and for those 5 guys from the beginning of the race, where the other stage that Van der Poel won, he was protected. He only had to go at the end of the race. Today, he went all day long, full gas, and it really affected him.
Well, I mean, man, you go back to being a kid with when you're in the playground. And you're picking people for your team. Like if you were in the playground, you're picking somebody for your team to be in a breakaway. Matthew Van der Poel's is one of the guys you pick. Yeah. Right. I mean, and to see him suffer like that. But this was tactics on both sides, right? They were trying to let the jersey go. Visma realizes, wait, let's make him go stand around for an hour after the race. Right. That's to be expected.
Mm-hmm. I think we got to cut for break.
We're going to take a little peacock break. Yep. All right, guys, we'll be back in 2:32, and we're back. This morning we woke up to or I shouldn't say we. Sir Bradley woke up to a really interesting analysis via voice memo from your son, Ben Wiggins, and there's so much reflection on the time trial and really questions in and around Jonas Vingegaard's performance. Not what anybody expected, certainly himself. We had talked a lot in previous days about his choice of crank arm length. We regarded in the time trial massive chainring. And so Ben had an interesting take on
so
just the physics of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they play around with, Ben's on the British track squad program, and they play around with crank lengths quite a bit for team pursuiting, individual pursuiting, and obviously the advantage you can gain from that. And essentially, he thinks that Tadej, when you come down, for every 10 millimeters of crank length you come down in size, you need to calculate and take that into account for the gearing. So you come down 4 inches in gear size, inches being the rollout of one crank rollout of the bike if you rolled it out on a fixed wheel. So you would equate that into your gear selection and come down 4 inches in gear size. So essentially his gearing was way too big for the cranks he had on, and you lose all your leverage. So we believe he had a 60-tooth chainring yesterday, 155 millimeter cranks, and he just couldn't produce the power because his leverage had gone because the gearing he was over geared for his crank length size.
When you say that too, and you go back to the footage, you see that he's kind of wrestling that bike to get the gear over.
So we believe he had a 60-tooth chainring on yesterday.
Just so I'm clear, 60 or 62?
60.
Oh, 60 tooth. Okay, yeah. Which is massive. You could see it.
Yeah. So when you're 60-11 on the gearing, on the bottom of your cassette, the leverage you can produce, the torque you can produce you're limited because it's the gear's too big for the size of the crank length. So that's what he's told me, and that's what the data suggests with all the track program.
You would think they had spent some time, and surely they have, right?
Well, I think it's course dependent as well. So whether he ran that selection and gearing at the
68
Dauphiné,
68 tooth.
68 tooth. Well, there you go.
Tooth.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
So this is coming in on our group chat here.
So there you go.
Johan saying I can't even believe I would say this.
Yeah.
A 68 tooth chainring. I mean, it did look. I mean, you can see a 56, a 58. It looked ginormous.
There's no crank arm left after that.
No, his cranks were inside of.
Come on.
Of the chainring.
Yeah. Oof. So the leverage you gain off of 155 cranks for a chainring that size is you're limited. You know.
But a team like that, with all the planning they've done, you would think they would have factored that in.
But there's factoring in, but then there's out in the field as well, as we all know. Yeah. It's a different ballgame, isn't it?
Yeah.
These things are great, in theory, but when you're out there in the Tour de France,
right?
Yeah.
That seems hard to believe. A 68 on the front. I believe,
and it's put him on the back foot. I mean, but he still looks great on the climbs, and Tour de France is way far from being over. And a lot of the interviews, his teammates are saying, look, the last couple of years the Tour's been won by minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes. So in their mind, they're not out of the game by any means.
Yeah, I mean the race is the climbing. The real difficulties of the Tour are weighted towards the second half. We've discussed that. So maybe. And look, Tadej Pogačar every now and again is human. It's not very often, but who knows? Yeah. But this kind of discussion, they're sort of head scratchers, right?
Kind of reminds me of that one time you tried the. Oh God! No, this is a true story. It's actually not that funny. But when you tried the fan and mist system,
cooling
system, when it was like 100 degrees out, and inside our little bubble was like 75 because of that, and you went out and completely your body just fell apart.
I know. Yeah, sometimes it's one thing you can test these things a lot in training. When you get in the element and you get in the race and you get where it really matters, it doesn't work out.
Yep.
Let's talk about tomorrow's stage. Another exciting one, right? The Muur de Bretagne 2 times. Remind me, fellas, Wout van Aert won the last time we came through, or was it Van der Poel?
Van der Poel.
So now he's
solo attack. He went away the first time up. Seeing the douche's attack.
I wonder what he's going to have to recover from today. He looked totally spent at the finish today. But however, he is back in yellow. We should have noted that. He's got a 1 second lead over Tadej Pogačar. And this is, I don't know, I forgot to pull up the finished profile, but no.
I mean, and don't forget, everybody had a hard day today. Even the guys, the Gruppetto, in 30K into the race, they were already 6-7 minutes behind.
Right.
So that means they have to go hard the whole day. Otherwise, they get kicked out of the race. So nobody had an easy day today.
Here's the final. The last 17 kilometers, 2 times on the Muur de Bretagne, pieces of 15% the final time up, it continues on. It never goes downhill. So another exciting one.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great climb. I led out Cadell Evans on that climb in 2011. He won the stage, but it's one of those climbs where you can just see the whole thing. You can see the run into it, and you see it start kicking up, and then you can see it when it turns 12, 13, 14%. So there's no hiding in that climb. It's a very tough climb. I think it's going to be a super exciting stage. You got to think these GC guys are going to have to attack. They're going to have to race up this thing.
And the running is sketchy. Yeah,
the running is sketchy.
The last 15K before that.
Yeah.
It's just...
Or another day for another breakaway.
I don't think so tomorrow. I think it's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
I don't know. I think I don't see Alpecin controlling it unless
you love the breakaways.
I love the breakaway. I said today was going to be a breakaway, and it was. And but the start, is that the start tomorrow?
Yeah.
The start doesn't look that hard. So a team UAE, or if UAE wants to go for the stage win, or Alpecin really wants to go for the stage win, they can control that.
Today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ. Take your shot. This is all about high performance energy. It is replacing all that other junk that sits at the counter at every convenience store in America. It is a clean shot of energy. Has multiple flavors now, multiple options, either no sugar, also now added caffeine if you would like caffeine. Also, a lot of studying and science and research going on here, not just with Visma a bike, but also KU Leuven. In a placebo-controlled study with trained athletes, Ketone IQ boosted average sprint power by 19%, peak power by 13%, cut fatigue by 10%, and spiked blood ketones 5x in just 20 minutes. Other key findings: improved blood flow, higher muscle oxygenation, and better endurance/stamina. Take your shot. Get 30% off your subscription plus a free gift with your second shipment at ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. As well today, our show is supported by Square. From point of sale systems and payments to inventory and customer tools, Square brings everything together in one simple platform so you can stay organized, sell anywhere, and keep things moving. Whether you're running a bike shop, a coffee shop, or a restaurant, or something entirely your own, Square gives you the flexibility to grow at your own pace and even set up an online store in just a few clicks. Square also supports all major credit cards and payment methods, including contactless options like Apple Pay and Google Pay, so checkout is fast and easy. Square keeps up, so you don't have to slow down. Get everything you need to run and grow your business without any long-term commitments. And why wait? Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/themove. That's square.com/go/themove. I appreciate those. You got it in the rhythm there, Bradley. Huh? Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. What did we leave out? I'm still thrilled for Ben Healy.
I actually just got a good question, and I thought it was kind of interesting.
Do it.
So a buddy of mine, Ken, just asked, "Hey George, do team directors from different teams ever talk and strategize about stages? Like today, is it possible that Alpecin and UAE plan to let MVP take back the yellow jersey, or teams work together against someone like Pogi when the opportunity arises?" Actually, a good question. And Brad, I'm going to let you take it because I think we all know.
Well, I think teams, definitely they coerce with each other.
Yeah.
One scenario I particularly remember was in the 2009 tour, where Johan and Bjarne Riis were coercing with each other in order to get rid of me.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. No, there's some footage of it on one of your films, actually. We got to get rid of Wiggins. They're coercing him.
Was that in the crosswind section?
No, that was in the mountains when I was still a bit of an unknown.
Did you make that selection, the crosswind section?
No, I missed it.
You missed it?
I missed it, yeah. I was lagging back with Garmin.
Yeah, you were.
I was with Christian.
That was no Mosca.
He didn't know it was coming.
No Mosca move there.
Yeah.
He was in the showers.
LA was following me right upside the road there when I saw that right turn coming. I'm saying, let's go, baby.
This was the stage 2 Grand Bornand when the Schleck started attacking on that tall climb.
I'll remember it. I do remember the crosswinds with George.
Yeah.
It's funny, like what I don't remember a lot, but I do remember that.
And that was before we had Velo Viewer in the car. Like there was a bit more of an art to it. Like you kind of had to have certain staff up the road. trying to sniff out wind directions. And so it was you just had to pay a lot more attention. Nowadays, they know exactly which way you're turning, which way the wind's coming, what's going to happen. So it's a lot different.
But to answer his question, there has to be, I wouldn't call it, let's stop short of calling it collusion, but let's call it collaboration and communication. There just has to be.
Yeah.
It's a 3-week race. You have 23 teams. There are 8 rider teams. And at that point, it does become political, right? There are, and you might align with somebody on stage 6 and be fighting against them on stage 9. Like it's day to day, but this is a political event. Make no mistake about it. And that's just the nature of the sport. That's the history of the sport. There's nothing they can do about it. And it really is the way that thing has to sort of move down the road.
Yeah. Like today, for instance, when that breakaway was only 20 seconds ahead and they're working their asses off they didn't want that breakaway to go. And there were several teams not represented. So in that moment, there's no collusion between teams. Perhaps teams that don't have anybody in there, like, hey, you put a guy, we put a guy, let's try to chase this down. But as soon as that thing gets the gap and they realize they're not coming back, then there's definitely collusion. We're like, all right, we can keep them close so we can give them more time. There's a lot of conversations going on in the team director's cars back there.
There are times when it gets desperate as well and the checkbook comes out. You know,
I was.
I know. I mean, I remember.
I think that was the old days.
Yeah, the old days. I don't know if that still happens.
I don't either. But I was trying to avoid talking about that.
Okay. In 1995, I remember particularly when the stage to Mons, Jalabert's in the front with Neil Stevens and Onse and Benesto were on the back foot.
Terrible day.
Yeah. Benesto on the back foot, and they were looking like
I was in that race,
and they were throwing money left, right, and center. Of what I understand,
to other teams to help chase.
Yeah,
I do remember that because there was a bunch of random teams like chasing. They're like, why are they?
Brescialan, ZG Mobley.
Yeah.
It was single file on this chip seal. That was a brutal stage. Yeah, but that was then. Yeah. This is now, and now we don't know, right? I do, but who knows? But there's definitely this communication and collaboration when you need it, right? There are shared and mutual interests. This is unlike any other sporting event in the world. It is not A versus B or 1 versus 2. This is 1 versus 22. Yeah. Right. And so you just can't control it.
One thing riders do in the 3rd week is start swapping food out of musettes.
That's for sure.
When you get sick of the same food.
Yeah.
And I'll trade you 2 of my.
I'd always swap my bars for your rice cakes. Your homemade rice cakes. Those are so good.
So what are you having there? What do you got in that feedback? Keep sending your questions in. Send those to info@wedo.team. We have a good question here from Jim regarding Sepp Kuss. We were actually talking about him as we were watching the race today. And Jim is spot on. He says, Sepp Kuss has been quiet thus far. Do you believe Team Visma is possibly saving that weapon for a bigger mountain stage to pull or help Jonas and try to break Tadej like they did in 2023?
I would hope so. I mean, he had a couple of years ago, he was probably MVP of the entire season in terms of what he did in the Giro, the Tour, and winning the Vuelta.
Ironman.
So he's got it in him. That's for damn sure. And I would like to think that they're kind of saving him for everything after stage 10.
So Bradley,
thoughts? I agree with George entirely.
That was convincing.
I do.
I'm curious. Well, we're going to find out. But for any rider to do all 3 Grand Tours in 1 year is unbelievable. It's Herculean.
Oh yeah.
And obviously he did that, but not only did he do that, he won the 3rd of the 3. Unbelievable season. One of the best seasons in American cycling history, bar none. Fact, end of discussion. I don't think that comes without consequences down the line. And look, this is just, and one would hope not, but time will tell. That is an incredibly hard thing to just try to complete. Nonetheless, again, when the 3rd one of the 3, got to be extremely hard on the body and potentially hard on the body long term.
Do you remember Adam Hansen? What was his record for?
Oh God, that's a different.
Right. Did he do 19 Grand Tours straight?
Something like that.
Giro Tour of Welter in 1 year.
You remember training camps with him? We'd go out for like 7-hour rides, 7.5-hour rides, and he'd get back to the hotel, do another 2 hours.
That's insane.
You know, or jump on a trainer. We were like, what is wrong with this guy? He's a beast.
God.
Yeah.
Let's do our Ventum trivia of the day. Yesterday's question: how many total Grand Tour time trial stages did Sir Bradley Wiggins win over the course of his career? Survey says the answer's 3. He won 2 in the Tour and 1 in the Giro. He also won the 2012 Olympics time trial, 2014 World Time Trial Championships, and he also set the hour record. Or as he said it the other day, it was an attempt. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I'm like, oh no, what went wrong? Didn't get it.
Didn't you say 2014 was like your best year ever?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to the Tour that year. I won California.
Yeah.
I was 9th in Paris-Roubaix, won the World Championship. But yeah, that was the year. It was a strange year because obviously me and the Froome situation was erupting at that point. And Chris was the clear leader that year and should have been. You know?
So did you ever think about switching teams that year or no?
Yeah, I was talking with you guys at BMC.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you weren't there then by that point.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
I was talking with Whitey at Green Edge and
For like a mid-year change?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, that would have been interesting.
Breaking news.
Hey, it's all in the past.
Yeah.
Today's Ventum trivia question for the day. On stage 6, a hilly stage, how many categorized climbs were featured on stage 6? It's not the toughest question. I mean, they're trying to, Ventum is being very generous here, giving away money on this one. How many categorized climbs are featured in stage 6 or were featured in stage 6? That's the question. We'll have your answer tomorrow. This might have the highest hit rate on success. Okay. ¿Qué más?
Big battle tomorrow. I think we're gonna definitely see some separation.
Obvious questions: breakaway or no breakaway? Number 1. Number 2: can Van der Poel repeat what he did a few years ago?
Well, like we saw today, even if there is a breakaway, Jonas and Pogačar have to race up this last climb. So it'll be a good indication of where they're standing. But I think a breakaway will get to the finish.
Yeah, it's the last chance for a breakaway before a couple of maybe sprinter stages.
Yep.
So
I want to just flag something too, because and I've talked about this. I've never understood it. These guys are all bro down, right? They give each other hugs, high fives, say nice things about each other. I don't get it. And I'm talking about Tadej and Jonas. I mean, okay, maybe that's the nice thing, but I don't get that. Just watch this though. It's things might be getting a little tenser. Tadej says at the finish, Visma is lagging behind, but what they did today made no sense. Maybe they fell off track a little yesterday. Even a sprint like that at the end is a bit pointless because it wasn't a sprint for the top 10. Just feels, for the bromance.
But why are you sprinting then if it's pointless? He still won the sprint.
He's sprinting because
he was mad.
Yeah, but you got to love it. I mean, this kid's proud. He's the best in the world. He's like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
the beef is real.
And by the way, too, as we watched, as everybody watched, they're sprinting out of the saddle. Who was sitting in the saddle?
Yeah.
Just fingers in the nose, chilling.
Fingers in the nose.
Come around. Yeah, show him who's boss.
Yeah.
It's getting a little chilly. The bromance is getting chilly.
Earlier in the show, I did want to mention Will Barder also making that breakaway.
Yes.
I said 2 Americans, but I did not shout out his name. Respect. I mean, hardest breakaway thus far in the Tour de France to make, and he was there working just as hard as everybody else. Finished 6th place on the stage. Really impressive result.
From Boise.
Boise.
And 2 Irishmen.
And 2 Irishmen, yep.
Yeah.
So
So big shout to the Irish.
Yep.
Quinn Simmons looks a little Irish.
He does.
I guess he must be written something.
He's channeling his in
Tyler Farrar.
In a Tyler Farrar.
But this is This is next level Tyler Farrar.
Yeah.
This is Tyler when he was retired.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're rooting for both those guys. We're rooting for all the Americans in the Tour, and and we said it at the start, right? We said 5 or 6 Americans in the race.
5 Americans.
Yeah. Every single one of them
Played their part.
can have an effect on this race. We said that, right? And that's coming true. So cool to see. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.